Good morning, Charlie Pierce.
Hello, Nate.
All right. I picture you licking her nape like you probably licked the butter cow in Iowa. Did you lick the butter cow thinking of Jody Hamilton?
One cannot get close to the butter cow.
No.
No, you're not allowed to.
Wow.
It's in a fridge.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. It's in
Good
a
to
fridge
know.
along with Butter TV, which actually was what the local news was on, and a Butter Sesame Street this year.
Wouldn't a
Was
butter
that butter
TV
frozen?
melt because TVs generate heat?
I don't know how they did it, but there was an actual picture on the Butter TV.
Okay, then.
It was not made of butter.
Are you still in Iowa, Charlie Pierce?
I am not. I have returned from Iowa.
Okay. All right.
Because I wasn't going to wait around until Thursday to see molten.
I hear you.
Yeah.
You wrote a piece from Iowa, though.
I
You
did.
entitled "Eventually Bernie Sanders Will Have to Collide with Elizabeth Warren," and the "I got here first" is inherently empty. Nobody votes for that person. You report Bernie Sanders stopped by the Iowa State Fair late on Sunday afternoon. He drew a big crowd, not as big as the one he drew 4 years ago, not as big as the one Elizabeth Warren had drawn the day before. But yeah, I mean, I think this next debate is going to be interesting for a number of reasons. I don't know if you saw the tape of her and Professor Senator Warren hugging each other, and there seems to be genuine affection there. It'll be interesting to see them on the stage together as well.
Yeah, because she seems to be having Harris seems to be having a moment now too. She's really changed course. She's all of a sudden she's pumping all kinds of money into and staffing into Iowa right now.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, I think there is a genuine affection here. I think there's certainly a simpatico on interest.
Yeah.
And I think there's a kind of a native political shrewdness that they both share.
Yeah.
This whole latest turn the Sanders campaign has taken is strange. I mean, they're talking about Jeff Bezos, controlling the Washington Post political.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. That was odd.
Fighting all over the place about whose crowd was bigger at the. I mean, come on, guys.
Mm. Well, what you write about.
Maybe your moment is past, and that's a hard thing to realize. But you can run for president better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like they were starting to get a little bit ugly.
I must have missed this. About what? About Jeff Bezos? What were they?
Oh, he was on. He gave an interview. I forget which network he was on. Might have been MSNBC, where he said that he thought that Jeff Bezos, because he's a gazillionaire, was controlling the Washington Post political coverage, and that's why the Washington Post wasn't covering him as much as they did, or as well as they did, or whatever.
Yeah, he's not happy with the Washington Post coverage of his campaign, so yeah, he's blaming it on Bezos.
Okay. Well, anyway, you write the Sanders campaign. You talk about he basically, because he came to the driving ideas of the current Democratic Party first, he's best positioned to win it. You say that comes dangerously close to the notion of it now being Sanders' turn to be nominated, an idea he rightfully scorned when it applied to Hillary Clinton in 2016. It's is the most obvious risk in this new strategy. Unless it's handled very carefully, it could position Sanders as a candidate of the past. Boy, it sounds like Biden is going to be dealing with somewhat the same thing, and I don't know that that's just age related, right?
Well, I can't say on that. I mean, Biden's biggest problem right now is he can't get both feet out of his mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, and that plays into a framing of that particular politician that's existed since long before he turned 70. I mean, that was his problem in 1988. It was his problem in 2008.
Yeah.
Just the problem with the guy.
Well, I think what I've been surprised.
He says inartful things, and unfortunately, he says a lot of them about race.
Yeah. What I've been surprised about, Charlie, is I feel like they neither Biden nor Bernie have had to deal with what I think are their biggest issues. I mean, in terms of Biden, the Anita Hill stuff they have dealt with, at least in a debate, and then Bernie, for me, it's the twice voting against the Brady bill and against Sandy Hook families being able to sue gun companies, particularly in the current climate. Do you think that stuff is going to come up? They're going to finally deal with this in the next debate.
Well, I mean, Bernie faced the gun stuff all through the 2008 primaries. I mean, Hillary Clinton never shut up about it.
Right.
I'll grant you that the current context is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's been explored. I don't think his answers are adequate, but you can't say his. And I mean, I have no idea why Anita Hill hasn't come up yet.
Yeah, I mean, particularly again in this environment, I think the gun environment now for Bernie, and then the whole Me Too movement. In terms of Anita Hill.
I I thought I honest to God thought that's where Kamala Harris was going to go in the debate, where she instead went on his, even older history with busing.
Right.
But maybe they've decided that that's self-evident.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Our friend Fernando Armandi also tweeted, only one person in the United States Congress voted against the Magnitsky Act twice and did not vote in favor of the Russian sanctions bill twice. Guess who? Bernie. And so
Bill Browder, the guy who was friends with Magnitsky and was the driving force behind the Magnitsky Act.
Right.
He's been talking about that a lot. I don't know whether or not people are paying attention, and I haven't heard Bernie answer that question yet.
Yeah. Well, by the way, shout out to my dad. In your column, you said one day it's entirely possible Bernie Sanders will be reckoned with spurring a progressive revival in American politics, the same way Barry Goldwater's crash and burn 1964 is now seen to be a seedbed for the conservative revival that is just now beginning to lose steam because of the malignant pregnancy it was always destined to produce.
Malignant presidency, dear.
Yeah.
Presidency.
Sorry, presidency.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Pregnancy.
Oh, sorry.
Pregnancy.
Well, that would make him a major figure in modern political history, but I also think it would make someone else president. Well, interesting parallel, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, people laughed at Goldwater in '64, and by '68, Reagan was a force, and obviously by the middle of the next decade, it was it had transformed the entire Republican Party, and they started winning a lot of elections.
Reagan spoke at my dad and Goldwater's convention, and he credited, they absolutely laid the groundwork. Sorry, America. For Reagan. Yes, exactly.
Well, your dad didn't do it.
No.
The other guy did.
Exactly.
The other guy.
Exactly.
But I'm sure 9-year-old Stephanie was quite aware of that and wrote it down in her.
Pardon me, 3. I was 3. How dare you, sir?
I knew I was going to get in trouble putting a number on it.
Well, one thing I have to say, Charlie, and obviously this is something, a subject dear to both our hearts, is Senator Professor Warren, there can be no denying, is on the rise, right? I mean, in poll after poll.
Yeah, she has done very little wrong, and out in Iowa, she's got a formidable operation out in Iowa.
Yeah.
She has people everywhere. She had this gigantic crowd at the fair. Plus, she had a standing ovation at what was really one of the more overlooked events out there, which was the forum on gun reform.
Yeah.
That took place on Saturday morning, which I went to because of air conditioning, by the way. and she was just rapturously greeted there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, right now, she's not the front runner, but she's taken the wind out of a lot of sails.
Yeah, it'll be.
It's a strange campaign that way. Cory Booker is drawing enormous crowds that are not translating into polling numbers.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see how the next debate shakes out and how many people we have on stage, right?
Well, the other thing is, it's almost unavoidable. They have to put her on stage with Biden this time.
Yeah.
The last 2 times they haven't done that, but we have to have the shootout on the bankruptcy bill sooner or later.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You also, obviously, your next piece, nobody will ever believe the official story on this involving Jeffrey Epstein. You say, we just talked to Barbara McQuaid earlier, Charlie, and you say the suicide happens the day after a massive document dump in which a woman who said she was one of Epstein's victims implicates the entire brigade of celebrity clients up to and including European royalty. You said a whole bunch of somebodies need to get fired behind this. This country is losing what's left of its mind. If we didn't think we had gone crazy by now, right? I mean, even Barbara McQuaid said, this is, that is one of the risk factors for a jail suicide, or right, is homicide, whatever it is. Not just the pedophilia, the powerful people information, but that it was a really bad day in court, right? Basically, with this document dump.
No, and it comes at probably the prime era of conspiracy theory, because we've got a president who wouldn't know the truth if he fell over it, and all of a sudden we had Clinton body count trending again.
Yeah.
I mean that was just, that's yesterday's poison. But yeah, I was quite stunned by that news, and Bill Barr is right on top of it, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
he's on the case.
No, I know. I mean, this is what I really do feel like I'm in a bad mob movie. You just wake up and go, wow, okay, whatever, because now he has possession of the tapes, or whatever evidence they found, right?
Well, the Department of Justice does, yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's no, unlike the president, there's no independent state action going on right now.
Yeah.
As far with Epstein, as far as I know. But
and then you had to speedily get out a piece on him killing the American bald eagle, which is not a sign of any kind of the end times.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I mean, this is all going on while the president, acts insane, and this sideshow in New York is going, in Manhattan is going on. The Endangered Species Act is endangered at this point. It's an endangered species.
Yeah.
Plus, they're letting this gigantic mine go forward in Alaska that's going to kill off all the salmon.
Yeah.
And this is what people break all kinds of rock trying to figure out why the Republicans stay with him.
Yep.
Because he's giving them everything they want.
Charlie, this makes me so sick. These rich Fs in the Hamptons that are laughing at him doing Asian, accents, and I mean, it's so disgusting. And you're right. For I guess the tax cuts and no regulation, it's
right.
fine. The racism, killing the environment, it's all fine.
Yeah, the tax cuts, the environment, the deregulation, and the courts. And by the way, what he's doing in those three areas, everybody on that stage in the Republican debates in 2016 would have done.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Ted Cruz would have appointed Brett Kavanaugh. Scott Walker would have, or Chris Christie would have opened the mine in Alaska. All of them would have done they've been talking about the Endangered Species Act for 30 years, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is the question that all the never Trumpers are going to have to answer once this guy's out of the way.
Yeah.
Is how far are you?
Yeah, they'll say they never liked him, and blah blah blah.
Well, no, not just that, but how far are you willing to go to? Are you willing to undo all the damage he's done if it means abandoning some of your, most dearly held principles and hard-won victories?
Yeah. This, by the way, can you cue the tiniest of violins? This piece made me sick in the New York Post. President Trump's Hampton supporters have gone underground. Many of his East End supporters are eschewing the spotlight, especially after last week's calls for boycotts of billionaires Stephen Ross's gyms. We're all in the closet, says a boutique owner in Southampton who fears reprisals from customers. If he speaks about his allegiance to Trump, it's like you have this disease and people want to run away from you. A builder in West Hampton worried his customers would boycott his services if he reveals his support of the president. People have really strong opinions here. If you go around wearing a MAGA hat, you really need to fear physical violence. Oh my God, Charlie.
First of all, they're all stuck in a closet. The great thing is it's a 19-room closet.
Right, exactly.
But, seriously, if you don't want people to know you donated to a racist, don't donate to a racist. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, that's what I mean. That was the opening shot on that one was the how dare Joaquin Castro dox these people.
Dox them.
Didn't dox them.
With
That's all
publicly,
public knowledge.
with publicly available information,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, first of all, it was the FEC who put out their name.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thank God for the New York Post. Is all I'm saying, because that story would not have occurred to the New York Times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many of whom are people from the Hamptons.
Exactly.
Or are quite familiar with the geography of the Hamptons.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, thank God for the New York Post going out and getting those wonderful quotes.
All right, time for your fond farewells with Jody Hamilton.
Farewell, Jody Hamilton. We shall talk next week.
I look forward to it, Charlie.
Oh, mine with bated breath.
Oh.
Baited with
All right.
small pieces of baited with small pieces of tuna.
All right. Goodbye. All right. Whatever salmon was that what he
Salmon.
said? That is not
Something.
endangered.
Tuna. He said tuna, I believe.
What? Okay.